Guys, the technical difficulties.
So this one, you need to unmute. Or mute. Wait,
It's muted.
it's, okay, how do you disconnect the audio? This one.
This one is muted.
Okay, say that again.
And the hammer and the bar.
Okay, there's a line through the speaker on Zoom. So go into audio settings. Stop video, choose viral, pin, spotlight, edit profile, rename, unmute my audio. This is on the three little dots on the Zoom screen. I'm on the computer, yes.
Leslie.
Okay, there's no arrow though. That's the thing. It says district staff with a red line through the microphone. And then in the top right-hand corner, it says unmute, and next to it is three little dots. Now it's muted.
Now it's muted. Now it's muted.
Is there a way that we can disconnect this
Okay.
camera and just use one of these?
The volume. Okay, there's no volume on the computer. That's good enough. Her camera is still on. Okay. So that would be stop video. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to go.
Teamwork.
And there's a blue light on the camera. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, have fun. All right, bye.
Thank you very much, Wendy, and thanks again to Jay. We really miss him when he's not here. He's always the one. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:34 on August 17th, 2022. Sandy Hills Community Service District regular monthly meeting for August. And if we could stand and do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If we could have the treasurer secretary do roll call.
All right, Director Redford,
Here.
Director Van Pelt,
Here.
Director Jones,
Here.
Director Beard,
Here.
Director Huddleford.
Here. Okay, and on director comments, go around. Director Redford, do you have anything that's not agendized that you would like to comment on? Director Van Pelt,
So.
I would welcome you back. It's nice to be in person again.
Thank you.
And I welcome everyone who's in attendance tonight as well. And thanks again to Jay Freeman for all his help. Director, okay, and Director Hamilton. Okay, well, very good. Now, public comment of things that are not agendized. So this would be if you are person in the community that would like to speak to something in general that's not on the agenda related to this.
I would like,
Very good, Ms. Ivy.
you need that. As per your published instructions here, all of these comments are supposed to be directly to you, President of the Board. Is that correct? It says that they should be reported directly to the board president. The reason I'm pointing that out is because my concerns, I do have some things that I personally want to address, and they do concern you. But I don't want you to take this as a personal attack, but strictly follow your instructions, which was number one on here, that they were to be directed to you. It's with great respect that I come tonight, and I'm hopeful that you will listen to my concerns and that we can resolve these issues without any legal action. That's where it's come to. The first issue that I have and that I have personally experienced was when the liaisons committee was formed for the Chumash, or between this district and the Chumash, you insisted on being a member of the committee. At that time, I publicly questioned you as to where you could really set aside, due to the fact that you had published out in the community your feelings toward the Chumash. I had asked you, could you really set aside those feelings and do your job professionally and represent the community? And you assured me that you could. I took your word for that. However, I now find out that you're not even meeting anymore, and that the Chumash is refusing to meet because of you. The second issue that I have is that you really failed to do the due diligence, all of you guys, on the applications when applying for a board member. You publicly humiliated Reggie Paglitt to a point that he was so embarrassed and humiliated that he withdrew his application to this board. I was appalled, shocked, and embarrassed when I heard about it, because I don't think that that behavior really represented the community I come from. And you are the representative for us. I personally have called Mr. Paglitt and Sam Cohen, the legal counsel for the Chumash, and I have personally apologized on behalf of the community. Mr. Cohen said that he personally witnessed the humiliation of Mr. Paglitt. I want you to know that the Chumash provides over 20% of this board's income, this district's income. And all up and down California, anywhere that the Chumash is involved, they've always had someone from their tribe representing their interest if they had money involved. They have every right to have a seat at this table to protect their 20% interest. They have every right to that. I personally feel that you made a mistake and that you owe Mr. Paglitt an apology, a public apology. I called and invited him and Mr. Cohen to come to the meeting tonight. And if they couldn't, I asked them to watch via Zoom. Because although I've apologized, I think it's necessary for you to do the same. You also have stated that the reason you've endorsed all of these Zoom meetings is because of COVID. Due to my hearing disability, I've stated my objections and asked for accommodations so that I could hear all the board members when they're speaking via Zoom. I have made 3 public requests for that, and it has fell on deaf ears. It's now come to my attention that the reason you want these Zoom meetings is as soon as the Zoom meeting's over, you go to Texas, and you don't want to come right back in 30 days. You would prefer to just do it via Zoom. And I tell you, honey, the community did not elect you to represent us from Texas, nor are we paying you to do your job from Texas. I am telling you now, there should be no other Zoom meetings unless you can accommodate my request. And for you to continue to do this, to hinder my participation, is in a direct violation of the California Unruh Civil Rights Act and the Federal American Disability Act of
I would like
1990.
to hang on for a second. It seems like we're getting into at least 2 agendized items here. So if what you're talking about is something that's on the agenda, that would be the appropriate time to make the public comment.
I didn't see that on the agenda.
You're thinking the readoption of the resolution?
Yes, for the Zoom, of the specific request.
I don't know that they're directly related. I think that the issue she's raising touches on your general authorization to have Zoom meetings, but I think she's more specifically focusing on an individual director's reasons for attending by Zoom. Which may
Okay,
not be directly related.
okay.
And I would also say that you could have remote attendance even without the resolution under just the general Brown Act provisions.
Right, understood. Okay, you may proceed, just wanted to make sure.
And you see, I didn't hear that because I asked for a microphone for the board members. You said that was expensive, but I didn't hear that exchange because of my hearing disability. We have a problem. And this is public comment. This is the only time that is set aside for the public to come here and address you. So I feel that you should be respectful of that and at least let us speak. It'll only take a few minutes, then we're out of your hair, okay? You know that I've been upset about the ongoing labor negotiations. And I questioned whether the staff had been working without a contract and foregoing the customary raises, and I was sure that was not the case. That's just not the case. However, it's been brought to my attention that was not truthful and that you backdated documents and had to issue back pay to cover that erroneous statement. Now, I want to tell you something. The one commodity that this country is missing and happens to be the same commodity that this community is seeking, and that is honesty and the truth. We can handle the truth. We're adults. We're big kids. We can do this. I questioned the board as to why 5 employees would even want to join a union after all these years. And I questioned as to whether a hostile work environment had been created. I was assured that's not the case, no. When the manager position became available, I wanted to know if Wendy could be considered, as she was very knowledgeable, performs the duties of the manager. We don't have one. And quite frankly, this place just does not operate without her. My proof of that is when she goes on vacation last week for 3 days. I called all day and no one answered the phone. I thought, what? I kept getting Wendy's recording. So finally, I called her on her cell phone, only to find out she was in Kansas City on vacation. And she said, Mrs. Ivy, how can I help you? I said, Wendy, I'm trying to get my permit. I've got the people here, they won't do it unless, and I've called for 3 days. And nobody will answer. And so she says, well, why don't you get in the car and go up there to the office? And I said, okay, thank you. Sorry I bothered you on your vacation. Have a nice time. I came up here, knocked on the door. Nobody would come to the door. I then went back home and I fired off an email to the manager. And the subject of that email was, is the office closed? And I reiterated that how many times I had called and nobody had answered, that I needed to come up here and knocked at the door. Nobody would come to the door. And that I was trying to get my permit and I didn't think that this was servicing the community, which it wasn't. It really wasn't. I went back home and I thought about it, and Director Beard and Director Bob Youngro, he's gone, but they're the only 2 directors on this board that's always given me contact information, that if I had a problem or if I had questions, to feel free to call. I immediately called Mr. Beard and I explained my situation. And he said, well, I'll call Wendy. I said, Mr. Beard, she's on vacation. He said, well, I will make a few phone calls. So when Wendy gets back on Monday, I had my permit. I called her. I had my permit in 3 minutes on the email. Now, you might ask, well, why is this important? Well, I told you this. Well, it's important because Wendy was qualified for the position. She wanted to apply for the position, but she didn't do so because you would not approve her nomination. Karen Jones would not approve her nomination. I have no idea how you've treated her or what you have said, but she has led me to believe that if she applied for this position, she would lose her union protection, and you could fire her because you don't like her. This is intimidation at the highest level. And yes, it is a hostile work environment. Wendy, you are working in a hostile work environment. My research has also revealed that the union joined the employees group, joined the union when you came on board. And they decided that these were just sewer workers and was way overpaid. So I would like to see the salary study that you did. It shows that they were way overpaid. And I'm also curious to know that if this study, you found anyone that was underpaid. If so, when was that employee hired and was it on your watch? It is my understanding that about 17 years ago, it was decided and approved that instead of purchasing insurance, you would give them cash in lieu of insurance. The employee was responsible to get their own insurance. At that moment, cash in lieu became part of their salary. It is part of their salary, no questions asked. Now you are insisting, it's not a question as where you're gonna give it to them or not. It's in the budget, you've all approved it, we've all discussed it. The problem is, you want to know if they spend it on insurance. And my question is, why is that any of your business? Why? And why did this issue only come up now, since you've been board president? Why is this an issue now? This is like giving an employee a $2,000 a month raise and then running around behind, how you gonna spend it? How you gonna spend it? It's not your business.
Miss Ivy, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is this, I believe there's a time cap. I appreciate the comments you're making. I know there's a mixture of stories, comments, accusations. As a board member, I find it that we're gonna have a hard time moving on with this meeting if we cannot move on with public comment. I'm not trying to silence you, but I believe.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. We've given you, I feel we've given you plenty of time. And some of these are accusations of a board member. I understand they're accusations. They could be false accusations, but you're accusing a board member of some of your research. I don't know if it's factual or not, but I'm asking politely if you can speed up your public comment.
Well, you want me to speak up? I'll be more than happy to speak up.
Thank you.
We're no longer going to get to accusations. We're going to get down to the truth. Because you know what? All of this stuff has been done, wanted to be done in secret. And nobody was supposed to know. But you know what? The truth always comes out. It always comes out. And for the, Karen has been well, let me tell you on a personal note, I'll tell you this. Something is terribly wrong. And there's a lot more that I don't know. When an attorney from Los Angeles calls me, wants to represent me to sue you. He stated that he had knowledge that I should have been grandfathered in after all these years. He noted that when you charged me for over 25 years for connection to the sewer, you had to make the assumption I was connected, but I wasn't. Okay. Also, we've had people as far away as Orange County calling and wanting to know why I wasn't connected. They were calling Wendy and everybody else wanted to know why. Then I was told, you know, it was suggested to me that the local contractors had blackballed me because I'd been vocal at these meetings. And that's in direct violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution, which states no government entity can conspire to hinder a person's right to free speech. You think that's funny, don't you?
No, I think again, you're
I
accusing
can
people.
guarantee you that he has an ongoing investigation. And if it proves fruitful, then it won't be the last time you hear from me.
I'd be happy to resign from this board if anyone on this board conspired with a construction company to quote unquote blackball you and your husband's interests.
I'm just saying.
But that's what you're accusing, right, this board of, right, conducting
don't
business
know.
with. But that's what you're accusing.
I got a phone, I was sitting at home, my home, minding my own business. I didn't call them. I didn't call them.
That's
Never
hearsay,
heard of
that's hearsay as far as I'm concerned, Ms. Ivy.
They called
Your
me.
news is just fact.
Would you like me to?
I would
see Mr.
just
Battle.
comment, this is a time for public comment, and normally there's not responses to public comments because this isn't a matter on the agenda. You can ask clarifying questions, you can refer it to staff, but you generally don't want to have a discussion or back and forth during public comments. We want to allow the public comments to conclude. You can impose a reasonable time limit on the public comments. And if you want to discuss the issue, you can bring it back as an agenda item, or you can refer the matter to staff.
I would have
Correct.
to put it back on the agenda. We're trying to move on with this meeting and be on the receiving end of accusation after accusation, which some are false as hard. Can we put this on the agenda and have a more in-depth conversation, Ms. Ivy?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you want us to put this on the agenda for deeper discussion of the
That
comments?
would be fine. That would be fine if you want to do that.
We'd be happy to do it.
That's up to you. That's up to you.
And you don't need to commit to do that tonight. They don't need to commit to put it on
No,
the agenda. I'm just
no,
saying that
no,
there shouldn't be
it's-
discussion
it's the thing
unless it is an
also
agenda
that's-
item.
It's really frustrating. After 2 years, we are still paying an attorney to be here to keep everybody according to rules and regulations. How long is it going to take for everybody to get up to speed to where we don't have to pay an attorney at all these meetings to keep everybody in line and to do this? Do we not know our job?
For clarification, Mr. Battles, how long have you been working for the district?
Since the year 2000. And I was just looking at the board policy manual, and it says that a 3-minute time limit may be imposed on public
Right.
comments.
But it's
For each
reasonable,
speaker.
but because I am the subject of accusations, it can give an appearance that I'm just trying to avoid being accused of
Yeah, and that's,
conspiracies and some of the stuff we do.
and that's discretionary. It's not, you don't have to limit it to 3 minutes, but it is within your discretion, and that's a policy. not a
And it's
requirement.
kind of ongoing, and as I said, some of these issues might touch on public comments that have to do with other parts of the agenda. If this is just a broad indictment of me as a council member, I would encourage, whenever there's an election open, it's great to get involved. But yes, I'm not going to impose a stop now, but I would encourage our speaker to make the point and allow other people to make their public comments.
I'm going to wrap this up because it appears that I've been stifled from making my public comment. So I'll wrap it up. But I guarantee you it won't be the last. Because every member of this community can come here and voice their opinion on any and all things that concern this district. And I will shout that from the rooftops. And I will fight to make that our right. Now, if there's any employees here tonight, I want to publicly tell you that you are unique individuals with great talents and expertise that you bring to this table. And you should never let someone make you feel less than your wonderful self or anyone else. There's one phrase in the Bible that is repeated 365 times. One time for every day of the year. And that is, have no fear. Have no fear. I stand with the employees, and I hope that they all walk before they allow you to railroad them with when you've negotiated in bad faith. Because this community needs these employees far more than they need board members. They can run a district, you can't. We really need them. And I'm going to stand with them. And so after 2 years, Karen, of you as an acting president, the community has to ask, Are we better off? Is everything running smoothly? Are we being represented properly? Because, you know, it's not good stewardship of our money when it's spent on all these attorneys instead of honoring employees and treating them right. I'm going to close, and I want to close with a quote that I would like you to remember. And it's a quote from Julian Assad. Every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. Thank you for taking the time to hear me, and thank you for your interruption. It was duly noted, and quite frankly, what I expected.
Thank you for your public comment. Yes, I was going to ask who else would like to make a public comment. Mr. Khan?
Good evening, I'm Sam Cohen, I'm the government affairs and legal officer for the Standing Band of Chumash Indians. You know, before coming here tonight, I was working on a tribal letter of support for an SDCAG grant for broadband. The tribe partners with SDCAG and the County of Santa Barbara on regional broadband issues. The tribe works with the county on regional bike and pedestrian trails. The tribe works with the state of California to co-manage marine protected areas in the Santa Barbara Channel. But the tribe doesn't partner with the CSD. We do have an old contract that probably needs to be reviewed at some point. So we have an incredible new tribal chairman who is all about collaboration. So I'm here to state that we remain available to partner with the CSD when you are ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other public comments? I'm not seeing any in person. And I don't see anyone raising their hand on Zoom. So with that, we can go ahead and move on to the reports, beginning with our general manager, Rob Reisler.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Very briefly, I just wanted to mention that I met with Director Van Pelt to talk about the MSR on the latent powers recently, and we have some action items that we need to attend to in the near future, one of which is meeting with LAFCO just to ensure that we're heading down the right path. I know in the previous board meeting, my goal was to have something back to the board either September or October, and I'm still working towards that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Do you have other items?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Then let us move on to legal counsel report.
I don't have a report tonight. I might mention Mrs. Ivy is having problems hearing. She could be invited to move up so that you could hear better.
Yeah, well, even my husband said he didn't hear a word he said, so I don't know, so. Thank you.
Okay, then we will move on to Secretary Treasurer's report.
I don't have a report.
Okay, and then from committees. My committee, ongoing ad hoc committee with Director Redfern, will meet in closed session tonight and give the board a report. So we'll be reporting right now. Okay, those are committee meetings,
Yeah, Mr. Dreisler commented on the committee meeting that,
but you guys don't have any more to say.
no, just very constructive. It's very nice to have Mr. Dreisler listening and taking a clear direction on what we believe as a district. when you move forward with, and then bring it over to constituents and agendize some items for some thorough discussion on some board meetings.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Okay, so nothing else from committees?
We just mentioned we do have something from the at-large committee on the agenda tonight as well.
The finance committee.
From the redistricting. committee.
Yes,
Yeah.
Director Redford and I ad hoc
Yeah.
that is discussing the redistricting. So yes, that is on the agenda. So that sums it up, and we can move on to consent items. Consent items are items that we pass with one motion: approval of regular minutes of July 20th, 2022, approval of special meeting minutes, June 14th, 2022, and approval of the disbursements, July 16th through August 12th. Yes,
We do need to pull the special meeting minutes from June 14th and bring those back next month. So it will just be the July 20th and the disbursements.
and we're pulling the meeting minutes of June 14th.
Yes,
Is there a reason?
it's July 14th.
Oh, I see. It's because it's the wrong date type. It's a typo, not because of the content. Okay. If everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes in their packet, this would be, your motion.
I'll make a motion
We have a motion.
with the exception of pulling the June 14th.
So
Special meeting.
Director Beard has made a motion with noting the withdrawal of the special meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Director Van Pelt has made the second.
So we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Van Pelt to approve the consent agenda item, except for pulling the minutes of the June 14th, 2022 meeting. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleford. Motion passes.
Okay. We will move on now to our action items. 7A is a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. So we will open the public hearing at
6:08.
6:08 p.m. on the 17th. And I don't see anyone on Zoom. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a comment on
Is this
Well,
the
actually-
same budget that we went over before?
yes, it has not been voted on. We
Yeah.
present it
This
and
is
give
for
people,
adoption.
we give everyone an opportunity to look at it and make comments, discuss it. So, okay. I don't see anybody asking to make a public comment, so we can close the public comment portion at 6:09. And we will move on to the resolution, which would be a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Santee Nez Community Service District to approve budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023. And we would like to receive the staff report on that.
Okay, so not only will you adopt the resolution approving the budget, you'll adopt the 10-year capital improvement plan. And the Finance Committee reviewed the agenda March 29th and the May 18th meeting. Staff presented the draft budget to the board for its review. The board made no changes and directed staff to bring the budget back to the next meeting for adoption. The budget year is from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2023. The sewer fees will reflect a 4.25 increase for this fiscal year. Last year, we did not increase the sewer fees. The single family rate will be $79.93. The district is financially stable with the ability to fund small projects without financing and planning for future projects. The future projects are listed on the 10-year capital improvement plan. Keeping the sewer rates in sync with increasing costs of services, the district can better plan and avoid large rate increases. The operating budget expenses total $1,623,150. With the administration budget being $283,200, the building $14,200, operations $913,150. The wastewater treatment plant budget is $358,400. The tribe budget is $52,000, and streetlights is $2,200. The sewer revenue, the estimated sewer revenue is $1,258,000, which is 74% of the total estimated revenue. The non-operating revenue is, the property tax is forecasted at $200,000, which is 95% of the non-operating income. The total interest revenue is estimated at $13,225. And the projected non-operating revenue is $211,225. Contract agencies, it's estimated the Chumash revenue will be $358,400 and the tribe will be $52,000. That revenue is based on the actual expenses that we actually spend and the staff time that we spend over there. Administrative had an 8% increase overall from the 21-22 budgeted. In computer operations for implementing new software and an increase in salaries from the new general manager. The operation expenses a 16.6 increase over the 21-22 budget. There's a few increases, salaries, utilities, computer operations, professional fees, printing and publishing, and LAFCO costs from the LAFCO increase in staffing costs and operating costs. The district owes $1.3 million for the Horizon Drive line. We made our first payment. We did get 6 connections from the residents on Horizon. Personnel costs, the current staff level is 6 full-time employees, remains in the budget. And then a transfer of $270,099 is expected to be transferred to reserves at the end of the year. The capital projects. A summary is $180,000 to the wastewater treatment plant for the upgrade of the design of their new plant. $85,000 to replace the 2004 truck. $85,000 for sewer line rehabilitation. $200,000 for force main bracing project. $50,000 to replace the sewer inspection camera and recording equipment. And $50,000 for manhole cover replacements. And the capital improvement projects will be brought before the board for board approval. So it's not like we're just going to go spend that. And that's the summary.
At this time, are there any directors who have any questions or need any clarifications? I have one question on when you summarize, we're looking back for, this is an upcoming budget. And so when you say that the salary increase is primarily due to the increase in general manager's pay, that's just based on the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I have trouble tracking because.
I go back and I take I look at the last couple of years and calculate the budget out from that.
Okay, I understand that. I just had trouble following it because our general manager's salary went down significantly in 2020.
Right.
And so I wondered if some of that cost could be the interim management or, we went from 158 the last year that I saw in the budget, 158,000 a year to 110,000 a year for our previous GM. And Mr. Geisler is somewhere in the middle of that. So just to be able to follow the narrative and also to help make things clear for the public, if we're summarizing things in a report, that may not give the whole picture. To look at this, reading this, you might think like, wow, they're really goosing that general manager pay, when in fact, it's actually over $25,000 less than 2019. And I'm not sure about 2020. So that is just my comment. I didn't know if anybody else had any other questions or clarification needed. And then a final thing, I think it's helpful that you point out that some of the things on capital improvements we're not voting to do them. We're just saying that this is what we're planning for. Because one of the things that has come up on the budget when we've been in discussions is renting a four-wheel drive vehicle if we need it. I'm not sure how often we've required a four-wheel drive vehicle in the last 1 year or 2 years. But if it comes up, these would be things we would discuss in detail. We're not saying right now that that's what the money's going to be spent on.
Right, you have to plan out like your projects and stuff. And the rate consultant, when he does the rate studies, he takes that 10-year plan and incorporates it into the rates and does his projection.
Okay. At this time, are there any public comments on the budget? I don't see anyone on Zoom. So I assume that we can move to see if anybody on the board has any discussion before we go forward. Okay, no, then if that's the case, then I invite a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Okay, Director Beard has made the motion to
The
approve
capital improvement plan.
And the capital improvement, yes.
fiscal year 2022, 2023. So do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Van Pelt has seconded the motion. So we have a motion made by Director Beard, a second by Director Van Pelt. So we need to take some.
We have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Van Pelt to approve, adopt resolution 22-16, approving the 22-23 budget and the 10-year capital improvement plan. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, very good. So we have passed the budget resolution, and now we can move on to the discussion and update on sewer line subsistence investigative techniques. And so we will go to our GM, Mark Dreisler, to give us an update.
There's a couple copies of what I've passed out over on the table. I know that most of the people in here live the Horizon Drive project, so they probably don't need it. So I tried to, well, just a brief history. The Horizon Drive project was completed in November 17th of 2021, and we signed that notice of completion at that time. Then the rains came in December. There was subsidence in the soil, and Specialty Construction came out and did some of their warranty work on that project. There was some concern that there might be some additional subsidence, so the board approved the go ahead at the last meeting to go out and soak that area to see if we could recreate what had happened previously. In the packet that I have, I've talked about some of the different items that we've done in terms of moving forward with this project, make sure we're on the right track. So the graphics that you're looking at, to try to make some sense of those. If you want some just physical reference to it, here's the Horizon Drive here. And then this is the sewer line that goes through on our easements through these three different properties. So we were trying to recreate that subsidence in this area here. So if you're looking at the document now, section 1, which is that first square at the top, is also represented by the section 1 here. All these properties, all three properties are about 300 feet long. So there's 900 feet total, plus or minus. And you can see on this first page of this document that, and really in all the sections, we had no subsidence to speak of. But in the process of trying to figure out how deep we were getting the water to get over the ground, we had this probe. And I do want to thank staff that's here tonight, being creative in the field and doing something that's not typical and coming up with some good ideas. So during this probe process, we also realized that we're sort of indirectly getting a feel for the compaction. You know, it's not official, that it wasn't scientific, but it was just field engineering for the most part. So no substance in any of these six. In other words, the ground didn't fall into itself. And in these first three sections here, which is on this first page, we really didn't have any, we call it an absorption test probe. We really didn't have that probe go too deep in any one area. There's a couple spots, like in the first section, where we had about 16 inches, 19 inches, and then barely any in this third section. But one area that did become an area of concern is what I'm calling it, because we weren't sure what to define it, is in section 4. So in this property in particular, it's a little bit interesting because the top soil and top rocks change a little bit. You have a corral here with horses and goats, and then you start to move into a driveway, and then you're fully committed to the driveway in section 6. But you can see in section 4 on the second page that we did have an area of concern here, right about the end of the horse corral. And we did have 4 points where the probe that we were using went about 48 inches into the ground without too much effort. And then there was another little bit in section 5, but it wasn't consistent like it was in that one section. So just looking at this in general, subsidence didn't really happen the way, at least the way it did in the rain period. But we did have this one section that's an area of concern. So, you know, the next step in this is what do you do with that area of concern? Staff and talking to the resident who owns the property, not that enthusiastic about having repair equipment back on his property. He expressed that if he had his options, he'd rather wait for a rain event to see if something happens under those circumstances, instead of getting somebody in to do some repairs now and then possibly rain and happen again or in another place and then have to put it back in. So I know we didn't really talk too much about what the next steps would be, but I did mention in there that we can talk to our engineer, we can talk to specialty construction. Staff has been doing a great job of speaking with the homeowners just to keep them apprised of what we're doing. So there's some, I think in a general sense, if I was going to make a recommendation, just to get us started, would be to possibly contact specialty to see if they would be interested in extending their warranty for a couple of the areas that we are concerned about. And under those circumstances, they might ask for additional funds to be able to extend that warranty. That's possible.
That's not extending the warranty.
Buying a warranty.
Well, I'm just saying that is part of the discussion.
Yeah.
The other option is to have them, well, I think there's a couple things that can happen. They could see the path going different ways. Because anytime you do work like this, there's 3 places where you might have a problem. One is in the design phase of the problem. The construction, the other one is in the actual construction, and the other one is in project management. So if the plans were followed to the letter of the construction documents, the contractors can say, we built this the way it's supposed to be built, and it fails for some other reason. So that's an option that could happen in the top discussion. And, you know, I'd have a preference not to get in that back and forth situation if possible. So I did want to present this and tell you what at least I might go down this path in terms of waiting and finding out if, especially if he says, no, we don't want to extend the warranty and we don't want to, or if we do extend it, we want funds. That would probably, it sounds like that might not be an option for us. Another option at this time may be to get somebody out here to confirm, at least in this one area of concern, whether the compaction really is what it was supposed to be when they built that. That might be.
Sorry.
No, I encourage you.
You know, a quick question, because I think this came up previously when Director Redfern was talking about having this soaker hose out there. What kind of rain event is this trying to mimic? Is it an inch, quarter of an inch, 2 inches that we soaked it to? What is there some kind of calculation that we have that it mimicked?
Yeah, that's a good question. We did contact, or I contacted Michael Kilmore, the district engineer, and we talked a little bit about what would you have to do in terms of getting water in this area to recreate it if possible? And there was a lot of assumptions that we had to make in terms of the width and the depth and the height and absorption and lots of things. So we did come up with some numbers that we could shoot towards.
Okay.
What we came up with, because there's, you know, what we do in our offices, it sounds great, it works. And then there's what happens when you get out in the field and things start changing on you a little bit, or, you know, you're limited by the resources that you have. So we came up with some other, some standards that we were trying to get this amount of water and this amount per foot to try to make that recreate and try to be as close as what we had discussed in the office.
So I guess how much water do we, or you don't, if it's not off the top of your head, that's fine. I'm just trying to mentally grasp how much water we put down, you know, this line.
I think total right now in terms of gallons, we're somewhere between 15 and 20,000 gallons total. And what we were trying to do is get about somewhere between 30 and 50 gallons per lineal foot.
Okay.
Is what our approach was.
Okay.
One of the things we realized when we were out there doing some of this work is that there's a swale that runs along the sides of those properties that in a rain event, that could have impacted the groundwater in this system too. So, you know, are we exactly recreating what happened with that rain event when there was probably additional impact on that area because of groundwater? And I know we have some test wells out there, monitoring wells during the project, and you could see them really raise and lower during those rain events. So we might have recreated mostly what happened on the surface, but we don't think we recreated what happened where you can't see it in the groundwater. So I think in my report, I said something about, you know, this isn't the end all in terms of, is this what's going to happen? We can guarantee there won't be any subsidence based on the soaking process. But, you know, we definitely put in a hearty effort, I think, to try to recreate the subsidence.
The gentleman that has parcel 4, you said he has livestock?
Well, this is the first property, it's about 300.
But 4 has the most sinking on it.
And did you say
Or
that
potential.
horses and goats, this is the property?
Yeah, the area that we found.
So would he be willing to sign a waiver saying if the animal steps into this and breaks its leg, that we're not liable?
I don't know.
I kind of doubt it. I think we have to repair it.
Right, so I think then it's a matter of approaching specialty construction and seeing if they'll come out here and do this under warranty repair. But, you know,
Well, we're still under warranty at this current time.
yeah, we signed that, the notice of completion November 17th, 2021. And so we have till
30 months.
November 17th of 2021.
Till rain season.
Oh, rain season, right, just before rain season.
But this property owner that we're talking about that has livestock, he did not favor the idea of doing any fixing. He would prefer to let it play out after the rain, or?
Well, I think his thought process was if we come out and do this now and fix this area, and then it rains in November, December, January, and there's some other area that he has equipment out there one more time. And they've had equipment out there twice at this point. So now he's looking at the third time to do this repair now, and then possibly if it rains significantly, there might be, you know, another.
So there's, what you're saying, just so I can be clear, there is a failure in that section.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna say that. I think, you know, try to choose my words carefully if I can. We're calling it an area of concern, just because the probe.
Right, well,
Well, if you have compaction, the probe isn't going to go easily through.
so that's where we need to contact specialty and say, there's an issue here. We're bringing it up now before our warranty.
Right.
But we don't want it fixed until January. Or the homeowner doesn't want it fixed until January.
If it's needed to be fixed, right? It's an
If you don't get
uncertainty.
any rain, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't fix the compaction.
When we check with the probe, and I know this is linear, we have several hundred feet linear, but did we do a probe every 6 inches along a given?
Yeah, it's a good question, because the more data you have, the more accuracy you're gonna get. So what we decided upon was to do a 4-foot width
Okay.
pattern, you know, within the area that so her hose was, and then every 5 feet. You know,
Okay.
because we, you know, in the perfect situation, we would have done it more often, but in this situation, we were trying to do every 5, you know, and part of that's even, you know, field measurements too, where you're trying to be as accurate.
So 4 foot width,
4 foot width.
5 feet, so I guess, 20 square feet, you'd do 4 coats. You'd go 4, you do one, move over one over here.
So you-
5 feet
You
up
have an
there.
area that's at least 20 feet that's failing.
So we'll just answer your question. So we have two 2-foot wide sections.
2 foot wide, okay.
And so that's 4 feet total.
Yeah.
And we're doing a probe in each one of those.
Okay,
sections,
okay.
And then going down to the next 5-foot section and doing.
Okay, so 4 foot, so when you see the
Correct
area
me if I'm
concern.
wrong, right? You guys
That's
actually
about
get the
right.
words.
We probed it a little bit more in some of the 5-foot sections,
Right.
maybe 2 or 3 times as opposed to one.
Right.
I have a question. You have spoken with our engineer that we work with at Canon. Have you involved the project manager? And if we do take it to asking for an extension on the concerned areas, would we need the project manager and the engineering firm to both answer? Because the project manager signed off on this. Just,
I haven't spoken to him yet about this specifically. I did reach out to him when I first started here, and I know he came by the office one time. And I was busy or something else was happening, but I understand he lives in the area. Or he's
yes, Mr. Kerr, and I believe he does live in the area. And he's a very knowledgeable man with a lot of experience, so
Yeah, he'd be a great person to reach out to. I will do that.
I think he may also have good relationships with the people that live in the area, just because he was at the job site a lot.
Does the homeowner realize that if we don't do it now, we're gonna be out of warranty and
I'm not sure if he does, I'm not sure if he realizes that.
because I don't think we should run out of warranty because he doesn't want to be.
Yeah, I think the homeowner needs to be aware that we're coming up against a warranty issue. And, but I think we should still approach specialty, or the contractor. And say, put him on notice, we feel this is a problem area.
If we're on warranty, does that mean liability for any, unforeseen issues pertaining to, I don't know, an animal or even a human going and sinking? If we're under warranty, does liability sit with specialty or does it still sit with us?
It's gonna sit with both of us.
Both of us.
Whoever has the most money.
Yeah. Depends on your insurance company who's gonna fight it too.
Yeah.
If someone's sued, they sue everybody.
No, I understand that. I just, if it was under warranty, I could see that, because I just did a quick calculation. If I see almost 40 feet rough area, well, I know it's more, but if I'm looking at area concern by 4, I mean, it ends up being a pretty good chunk, it sounds like, visually, if I'm trying to imagine it, if I was walking it, and if indeed, we have pretty easy probe at 48, I'm kind of with the board that we have to press the property owner a little bit to see if we can address the issue and get specialty out there, because it sounds like it's a liability.
We're aware of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes us liable right there.
Right.
If we do nothing and we're aware of it and something happens, I think we leave the district with their head in the chopping block.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if he doesn't want to sign a waiver, then I don't really see an out because we can't take on that liability.
I don't think we can take the liability on to go through the winter. That's when if we do get rain, it'll be soft. If you have animals in there, I've had horses all my life. They break legs very easily.
Yeah,
Some horses are worth a lot of money.
yeah.
I think if you're at fault, I don't know the law, but I know if somebody's animal gets killed by somebody else's whatever, that you can be liable up to twice the cost of the animal. I don't know how this would play out, but it wouldn't play out well.
Unless he signed a waiver of liability and he waived our liability.
And, you know, we would
He's
have
the one that
to,
doesn't want it to happen.
That's a lot of waivers.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we have an easement to do there, to go in there and do the repairs,
Yeah.
you know, and it's, we're the ones that are taking on the liability and by waiting. And I also think we should have specialty involved in it. And I think this is a problem area. It needs to be handled now. And specialty should warrant, if it's a problem area now, they need to warranty it through the winter.
right, and we're not lawyers, that's why we have legal counsel here. And at this point, we need to just do our due diligence, do our duty, be responsive. And I think that we've got a pretty good idea of where this should go with staff direction. But at this time, I'd like to ask if there is a public comment. on this
Yeah.
issue.
Isn't this the same issue that we addressed, Wendy, when you came out and with the interim manager and we went and walked that property? And
It's all
This
part
is-
of it, yeah.
it's the same problem.
Yeah, so what we've done now is we've gone out there with soaker hoses, asked them to go out there with soaker hoses, and so that we're not waiting till next year after our warranty's over. We asked them to go out with soaker hoses and do tests on that, and there is a section that is failing.
Yeah, well, you know, I was out there and walked with them when this was visited last year, you know, so I thought this was a dead issue. I thought it was taken care of.
What we're doing, what we want to make sure is it doesn't come back to bite us again after our warranty.
Oh, I see.
So we ran a test on it by putting we had staff put soaker hoses and then test the area, and it's failed. So now we want to,
Well, they're predicting 10 inches of rain for California, so you better get your butt covered.
Did they hit water when they put in your sewer line?
Huh?
Did they hit water when they put in your sewer line?
Yep.
No?
So on the bottom of page 1 of the staff report where it starts, so when the SOCR project is complete, and if there are areas of concern, which we have identified one now, staff will consider multiple alternatives that include, this is what you were talking about, is communicating with the engineer, construction manager, as well as communicating with and getting support from the homeowners. So I think that's the direction, at least that I've heard, and the direction is identified in our board memo. And, you know, I guess our concerns really, you should move a little bit past this, the timeframe of the warranty, and what happens when it rains in November, December, January.
Right.
We get subsidence.
Okay.
And I think there will be some commentary, I suspect, from the contractor that we built this project per the plans, you know.
And in
There's
accordance,
documentation.
yes, so sorry to interrupt, with the project manager, and that's why I think it's good to involve Mr. Kerr and get everybody who is responsible for the job to explain where they're going. And then, Mr. Battles, do we need a motion to direct staff in any way to do this, or is this just by consensus here?
I think under these circumstances, direction by consensus works.
And that would include approaching the provider of the service about extending the warranty. And so you don't need to come back to the board and say, I talked to specialty. Do you want me to ask them for an extension now from here on out in the negotiations? Just do it. Whatever you can come up with them.
That's right.
But you will report back, we'd like to hear the happy
Yeah.
ending to the story.
Do you feel like we can have a motion, or do you think the direction is clear enough for your purposes?
I think under these circumstances and with the language, I at least foresaw being appropriate for this, that the direction by consensus based on the board memo is appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just one of those things that documenting everything is going to be important and making sure you keep a record of who you talk to and what you agree to. Okay, so is there anything further before we move on?
Not for me.
Okay, It looks like then we're gonna.
This is a nice chart, by the way. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And thank everyone for their work because I think it
Yes.
answered some questions.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to action item C, which is consideration, selection, and approval of professional services for redistricting. And we will receive the staff report from our general manager, Mr. Dreisler, the committee, Director Redfern and I, but go ahead, please.
Well, the board did pass and adopt a resolution on March 18th to change from its current at-large election method to a district-based election. And prior to my starting here, the interim general manager, Michael Dunn, developed an RFP that was published and sent out. And that RFP did generate 2 responses, one from Plan West and one from, let's see, where is it, from the National Demographic Corporation. So the intent was to get some demographic services that we can use to determine what the best way is to split the district into 3 and 2 or 4 and 1 or 5. That'll be something that they can determine would be best for us. President Jones and Director Redford and I sat down and looked at the proposals and scrutinized them and went through some of the direction that was given in the RFP. One of the directions indicated that the board needed to approve the RFP that we thought was the best one, and both of those are included in the board packet, but we did decide that Plan West Partners had presented the best overall proposal and it was easiest to understand, and we felt like they had outlined the task better than the other agency had done, and that's why we recommend Plan West. And obviously be interested to hear from the director's take on that meeting as well.
Well, both of these firms came highly recommended. One had done some local work, but it really came down to the presentation and how specific one of the proposals was over the other, and it made our choice, I think, easier. Yeah. So are there any questions from any of the board members on how we arrived at or questions about the proposal?
No, which was the proposal?
Total with a little buffer in there around $20,000.
Yeah, under fiscal implications there, the proposal from Plan West is 18. And we just thought, just by looking at both the proposals, that there's probably going to be a need for a little room to make a decision that we didn't foresee. So we thought that a 15% contingency would be appropriate under these circumstances.
What was the proposal cost for the other?
It was open-ended.
It was very hard to determine what it was, and I think that was one of the reasons why we made the decision with Plan West. It depended on how many meetings they were going to attend, and there were some other considerations like different information available on their website. And that was one of the reasons I think we deviated towards Plan West, just because we couldn't quite determine what the true cost was.
One of my concerns is that I know we have to go down this road because of the threat of legal. I know we had a study done before, and they said there is not any, there currently is no, I need to put it like that.
Evidence of racially polarized voting.
Yes, evidence of racially polarized voting in our district, in our area, the sphere of influence. But because of the way the laws are written, and they slap us with a notice and we have to pay $30,000 right off the bat. We have to go down this road and spend $20,000. And it's probably going to cost us the $30,000 plus, we would have to spend this money anyway and then spend $30,000. And the outcome may be is we may not be able to district. We're such a small community.
That's why we hired the
That's why,
experts.
yeah. So will they tell us that, yes, we need to district, or no, we don't?
The way I understand the way the RFP was written is that we are moving towards redistricting the district, which
We passed the resolution, we agreed, and it was after several discussions over probably a year period.
Right.
And that's how these two groups came to be referred.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
But legally, we all agreed that if it's the way to go. So since we're going that way, we have to pick between one of these two. And I'm going to ask for public comments if we don't have any more questions before we move on to the next thing. But does the public have any comment about these proposals for the redistricting? Okay, and then is there any discussion among the board before I call for a
What
motion?
is the purpose of the redistricting?
So
I wasn't here for that.
to give you a little history, there is a group of attorneys going around suing every district, every city, every town that has an organization like this or a city. And as part of their lawsuit, we have to pay, as soon as they start to file, we have to pay them an automatic $30,000 plus the cost of redistricting.
That's the racket side of it.
That's the racket
But then
side.
there's another side of it, and especially when you have a rule that applies to a lot of different districts, there are cities where people truly felt like they did not have a voice, and so this is a solution.
Right.
And there are people who feel like this is an excellent way to be more inclusive in elections. And anything you want to hear, you're going to hear when you research this. We would hope, get people to participate more, that as you two directors are experiencing, you don't even have anyone challenging you. It was open for several weeks. So one thing that I've observed, especially in smaller districts, sometimes at least in the initial phase of this, doesn't help participation. It does the opposite.
Right.
But this is what these people are going to help us decide. And maybe we're fixing a problem that doesn't exist for us, but we'll get a lot of public input during the process. These lines will not be drawn in a way that gerrymanders. We will get input from the community and from experts, and then we will
So
pick a
basically,
plan.
you
of
want to
people.
take the 800 homes and then divide them up and say.
Yeah, actually,
That's
11 now.
what we have to do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And with a district as small as ours, as our general manager pointed out, there are multiple options. We do not have to do 5 little tiny 200 people districts. We might be able to do 3 chunks and then 2 at large, or quarter it up with 1 at large. So any overlap, because all of us are neighbors to some degree. Everybody sitting at this table could walk to the other one's house.
So
So
Plan West will deliver then is several different ways that we can map it out.
yes,
And we won't know how many different options they present until they conduct all their findings and give us presentation.
and multiple, and they're not going to choose, they're going to recommend.
Yeah.
And we hope that we will be able to get robust participation from the community. And they can say, hold it, that doesn't make sense to me. And so we'll have our judgment, the recommendation of the professionals and input from the community. And then there will be a vote that, we just went through this process with our county supervisor redistricting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of input.
Solving was forced to do it.
Well, that redistricting took years.
This is
That
18
literally
months.
took years. So why is this necessary? Are you being sued?
We had a threat.
You have a threat of a suit. So that's why we have to go through this. And redistricting is a long drawn out process.
It doesn't have to be. We actually talked about getting it done in time for this election. And we felt like we wouldn't have an opportunity to get the public input and make a thoughtful decision, because we got our threat of possible legal action. And that's what David's talking about, that some people use that as a way to intimidate or manipulate, is threaten a legal action. And so that's all we really needed to do to rapidly respond and say, we've been talking about this, that it could happen for a year or 2. This is it. Let's just do it, whether we think it's a good thing or a bad thing for participation.
So when you do this study and it's redistricting, how long is that in effect?
Until we go through it again, and it'll
I know, how
depend on, Usually 10 years.
That's what I
census, yes,
thought,
that's
10
what
years,
that's-
yeah.
So anyway, we should be okay, and we'll see how it plays out. And some of it has not worked that well in other communities as far as increased participation, but it's new. Let's see what happens. If people make a good case that you get an increase in participation because you're working with people you know.
And the side of this board takes any threats of legal action very seriously. And so what we're trying to do here is to just be proactive. in our approach.
Are you gonna be increasing, the number of directors?
No,
Okay.
not at this point, but that's a kind of thing, you know, you can, when you make these decisions, I would think that these are questions that are gonna be great for these people and everything is on the table. Okay, so on that one, we will need a motion to approve whichever proposal we're going with. The committee recommends the Plan West, is that right? Okay. But once again, both came highly recommended. I spoke with both, and just on the, like, talking, I really liked the other deal, but when it comes down to getting it in writing and knowing what to expect, I think the proposal is much better with Plan West. So if any other comments? Okay, then if there are no more questions from the directors, we can go vote, and I would consider a motion to approve the hiring of Plan West partners
Do we need to vote on one or two first?
on one or two.
In other words, does any board member prefer the other?
The discussion would have been the time to bring that up, but even now, if somebody has a different preference.
And they're both the same price, right?
No.
Well, one, we don't know the price.
One was more.
The NBC, you don't know the price on?
It's
We,
more-
nothing in writing, and it's pretty vague. The other was more specific and for what information we would get.
I like the Plan West.
Yeah, and I think they both would do a great job. But there was a process that our general manager provided that went down a list that actually graded both of these. And,
When I looked over this contract, it was two of them, it was two, I mean, it cost us twice as much as this.
Okay, so I would call for a motion to approve the selection of Plan West to do our redistricting services.
I'll make the nomination.
Okay, so Director Redfern has made a motion to approve Plan West to do our or to do our redistricting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Director Beard has seconded it. So we have a motion by Director Redfern and a second by Director Beard. Wendy, could you do roll call?
We have a motion by Director Redford and a second by Director Beard to approve the proposal from Plan West for the redistricting services. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford,
Aye.
Director Van Pelt,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Beard,
Aye.
Director Paddleford.
I,
Okay, so that passes, and we will hear back in a future meeting from our general manager on how that goes, and keep us abreast, because we will be doing public outreach. It'll be a process. Okay, so let us move on to adoption of resolution number 22-18, and we can get the staff report on that, please.
So this is the monthly resolution to continue the teleconference meetings for the government code 54953. The period will be from August 17th to September 15th, which means we'll have to have a special meeting if you want to continue the teleconferencing pursuant to the AB 361. So we'll have to plan that if you guys want to continue. So it won't be before the 30 days is up before the next board meeting.
why do we have to do it every 30 days? I'm just curious.
That's
Okay.
the-
That's the requirement.
Okay, we can't do it 60 days, 90 days, it has to be
Yeah,
every
it
30.
has to be every 30 days.
But the Brown Act also, if we don't adopt this resolution. The Brown Act does allow for doing teleconferencing. You just have to post everything where you're located.
You have to post the location
Ahead of
of
time.
where the board member is going to be on the agenda and put teleconference location at.
Okay.
That is part of the noticing.
Yeah.
So you would, if you were going to be
Let's just
participating
bypass that.
remotely, you would provide the address and you would provide notice on whatever building or room you're in. So,
And you have to allow the public to attend in that location.
okay, so anything, okay, public comments before we call for a motion on this?
Are you going to address providing accommodations for me to hear?
I would direct that question at staff and you can get that information from them. That's okay.
Yeah, you got it from us. I know that on a lot of board packet, we we'll have to look at that, but usually there's information about getting special needs requirements ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I got a copy of the law. And it outlines if you do telecommunications and use the internet, the kind of audio and visual that it must be for people to participate, to understand.
There is the notice on the agenda that says people that require an accommodation for a disability should contact the staff. There's the contact information there, so I would agree that that's something that staff would need to take care of.
And if you need further
Well,
follow-up, then
I've contacted through the board here 3 times. It's never been done. So I'd like for that to be, if you're going to vote for it and you're going to have it, then I think you need to abide by the Disabilities Act and fix it.
just to be clear, I think we understand your criticism and our general manager will follow up because
Okay,
we
thank you.
definitely want to accommodate everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, I call for a motion. The staff recommends approval of authorizing remote teleconference meetings. So that would be resolution 2218. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Director Van Pelt has made the motion. Is there
Second.
Director Paddleport has made the second. So we have a motion from Director Van Pelt, a second from Director Paddleport. And if you could do a roll call vote, please, Randy.
So we have a motion by Director Van Pelt, a second by Director Paddleport to adopt resolution 2218. That would allow the board to continue conducting its board meetings remotely pursuant to Government Code 54953E and 8361. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Hi.
Director Beard.
No.
Director Paddleport.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we will go on to 7E, which is the discussion and approval of resolution 2219, approving the transfer of monies into FDIC insured certificates of deposit. So this is an action item, so if I could take the staff report on that, please.
All right, in 2014, the board authorized the general manager and the secretary treasurer to transfer money into 2 CDs at $150,000 each. And we did that, and we had a 12-month CD and an 18-month CD, and we would roll it over when they came to maturity date. And once the interest rates dropped, we pulled the money out and deposited it back into our money market account. And so now that the interest rates are slowly going back up, staff is recommending that we take $600,000 for 3 CDs of $200,000 each, or a 12-month CD at an estimated 3%, an 18-month at an estimated 3.05%, and a 2-year CD, which is, there are 2 that's non-callable and callable, and non-callable means that if you invest in a 24-month CD because of the term, the investee cannot call that CD and cash it out basically and give you back the money, which they would do that if they were giving you 3%, but then the actual interest rate dropped down to 0.5%. They would call that CD. So the non-callable CD rates are 3.25 and 3.3. I got these rates last week and they do fluctuate a little bit. The callable CDs is 3.3 and 3.45. So the interest rate is a little more for the callable CDs, but staff is recommending a non-callable, so they can't just decide they want to pull the money out. If we decide that we invest in the CDs and we want to pull the money out early, we will be penalized for that. So.
And what's our current interest rate on our money market?
0.1%. And that will leave us with like $5.3 million currently, but we'll pull that to use for operations. And then in December, we'll get probably $600,000 from the property tax roll. So that money will be back in December technically, and we'll still have the money sitting in CDs earning a better interest rate.
And so our cost of doing business is going up by 9% this year, right, roughly.
Yeah.
And our expected revenues are going to increase by 4.5%. So how does this factor into filling that gap?
Well, the money will be sitting in CDs earning interest, so we'll earn more on our money, and we won't need it until 23, 24, when we have to make a lump sum payment to the city of Solving for the upgrade, providing that we don't get involved with their interest or their loan amount for their upgrade if they don't include us in there.
Well, that's a discussion that we need to have with them.
Correct. Yes. So it won't affect our operations because we're earning interest on that money where we're earning like 0.1% on all our money, but it's compounded monthly instead of in LAIF, it's compounded quarterly. And then in December, we'll get like the $600,000 back to cover that money and we'll just let it sit there. So by the end of next year, we should have roughly $6 million in the bank.
And I guess that was my question. I probably should have asked it more concisely. So if we just do what we're doing without changing, that's what the numbers, that the gap of about 4.5 gap is based on what we're doing now. And you would predict that this would be the outcome, not even predict, you can do the math.
Yeah.
So the budget that we got is if we don't do anything, or the budget is if we do this transfer as recommended?
The budget is based on a projected amount. Usually the revenue is higher and the expenses are lower for the budget to actual, which that will be coming to you guys as soon as the audit's finished. The budget was projected without doing this money, without transferring it and earning that extra interest.
Yeah, that was my question. That answers that.
Yeah.
So that's.
So there's just additional money.
Yes, and that when we're trying to figure out how we can not keep raising, cost of living went up 9%. So we're passing that on to our customers, 9%. If there's a place where we can like cut a little bit, that would be nice. We would prefer not to keep raising rates because expenses are going on all around us. And, we don't always have that option. Well, if it's going to cost me 9% more, I'll just call up Social Security and Fidelity and tell them to increase what they're paying me by 9%.
Can I ask Wendy a question?
Certainly.
Wendy, what bank is the CDs with?
It depends. We go through Cantella Company. They're a broker for CDs. So he didn't give me the names of the banks, but per our financial resolution, we are limited to where and what we can do for our finances. In the past, we had Bank of the West, we had First Bank, we had Bank of America, and then we had American Express.
Okay. Mr. Battles, I'm sure that you're aware, and you'll make the board aware of the new quantum financial system that is coming in, replacing the Swiss system. There's a lot of banks going to go down. The two banks that will survive is Bank of America and Wells Fargo. So I would just caution you to make sure that you put your money in the right place. A lot of banks are going to be closed. So, and they're in the process of that. That quantum financial system should be in place this week. So I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but that would be the only thing I would caution you, because if a bank goes down, it'll take you a long time to get your money. So Bank of America and Wells Fargo has been designated as the two banks that will survive. The rest of the banks are going to go down. A lot of them, not, so I just want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy. I don't just think it. I mean, obviously, and we don't know what's going to happen. And that's one thing I keep going back to our budget, and it's rosy. We're healthy, especially when we compare ourselves to other agencies that might look good, but we have a very big obligation coming up. And as we saw with your project, from the time the ball started rolling to when we actually took bids, it went from 700,000 to 1.4 million. So it might be like, oh, we've got this much in reserves. It's a lot of uncertainty.
It's a good investment move. Just make sure that it's in the right place. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and to also be prudent, just be aware.
I make a motion that we move forward with putting money into the cities.
Is there any more
I-
discussion
yeah.
before we call for a motion? Were there any other questions?
My only concern is, do we really want to wrap up that money for 2 years and not just keep it in 1 year CDs at 0.5% difference, so that if we do need it, it's available within 12 months, not 24. That's my own question.
So we were putting how much into, I thought we were putting some into a 12-month, some into a 2-year.
18,
And 18 months. Yeah.
So it's 3, 3, and 3.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then
2, 2, and
2, 2,
2.
and
Oh,
2,
2, 2, and
so
2.
it's under the FDIC insured amount.
Right.
And the thought process that we did last time is every 6 months it will come due. So in that 6 months, if you need to pull the money out, then you can every 6 months.
Right.
But it's up to you guys.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a problem doing it for the 2 years.
So if we put it all in, say in a 1 year, then it's not covered because we have too much.
Correct. You can't put more than
That
250.
answers that
And
question.
Right.
It, as the interest accrues, then you don't want to reach that max.
But you could put it in 3 different CDs all at
Yes.
12 months.
Yes. Yeah, you can put it in 3 different CDs. all
And then
do it
then
in
it's
12 months.
covered by the federal.
As long as it's under 250,000, yes.
And your concern is not having availability to the money, and it may not be worth the quarter point that we gain.
But also we have 600,000 coming in, a budgeted 600,000 coming in from the tax roll. So what we're taking out of the account, basically, we're gonna be putting back in
The
December.
only thing I'm thinking is
Right.
doom and gloom, if something major happened, we're counting on FEMA to cover us if it's major. But if we had a major incident happen,
We're gonna have to go to FEMA anyway.
right,
Well, that's an act of God or some kind of emergency, but if we have an expensive lawsuit, or there's all kinds of things that can happen that costs that aren't in the budget.
Director Beard, were you looking at the 12-month, 18, did you say 18-month for 3 CDs at 200? Was that what you're?
Yeah, I was, her proposed, she was gonna do one at 12,
One at 18.
one at 18, and one at 2 years. So it's 200,000, that would be, the 2 years. We earn more on that one, but I don't think 200,000 is gonna kill us. If it was a whole 6, I wouldn't be questioning it, but 200,000 is not, I think it's better to do it that way.
And I'm gonna
Stagger it.
go over the 2 years because we're gonna need it.
Right.
Yeah, I like the idea of putting money away, knowing that we have a large bill to pay and solving. We've spoken about it year over year, so.
Well, and things can change, you know, I heard earlier this evening during public comment that we could not be in contract with someone. Everything can change. So we have to be able to be agile,
Right.
no matter what happens, we're responsible.
And the interest rates could go up to, 12%. We're locked in at 3.
Right,
yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
So
we
you
don't.
never know.
Yeah,
If
we
we
can also,
did-
we can also do them at, instead of doing the 2 year, we can do all of them at,
Yeah, or you could just do 150 in a 12-month and 150 in an 18-month and do like.
I
we
don't
did
see
last
the
time.
difference in that 0.5%,
So-
and that doesn't make any sense to do the 18-month. I'm not seeing any benefit there.
It's just like a financial plan to where, you don't have them both come due at, 12 months, kind of like it,
You're staggering them.
yeah, staggering them.
Okay.
But it's totally up to you guys.
Okay, is there any more discussion?
Or you could do, 100,000 in one and, 150,000 in the other one.
My only question would be it's probably more of a comment. I see the interest rates, but it'd be really nice to see the actual true fiscal, right, impact it would have on the different options available to us. We did 3 at 12 months. So we did, 3 at the staggered 12, 18, 24. I think it would clarify to the board, but even people in the audience, constituents, to see, hey, we're foregoing an extra $24,000, right, to have it quicker or such. I mean, I'm just making, right, numbers up, but it would be something that people can tangibly kind of grasp a little easier, I would think.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's going to mean that we could move forward with recommending and approving the resolution. I'm happy to go with staff recommendation on this. I think it's really going to not matter, unfortunately, as much as we would think it would, because the numbers might be small. But what do you feel, other directors?
I like what you're saying as far as clarity, because I may be typical of a lot of people who are trying to follow along. And if we don't have a background in finance,
Yeah.
it's a little hard for me to see sometimes. And I spoke with Mr. Dreisler earlier. In our documentation and in the things that we put on our website, the more accessible and the more level and, objective
Yeah, I can tell you what 0.05% compounded quarterly is going to turn out, right? It's hard for me to drum that up. But if I had it in front of me, I could see again the fiscal, right,
That's what we
implications
wanna know.
quickly. Well,
Yeah,
I think it's just
bottom line.
clarity, so we make best decisions possible with our constituents' money. So, what would that mean then? How would we, Mr. Battles, kick the can down the road? Do we have to approve this resolution? Or,
I'm not aware of any time limit. I think you could make a decision on it at the next board meeting. If money just sits there in the meantime, right, Wendy?
Yeah. It just
So
sits in
you're
the money
delaying
market
an
account.
investment for a month.
yeah,
That would be very prudent, because changes will be made by then.
yeah. So maybe
Would
sounds
be
like
wise.
We should push it off till
Either way.
next, I think we should push this off to the next meeting and see what happens.
And then
And get a breakdown.
staff would bring back some calculations showing the actual dollar amount associated with the different options.
Yeah. And then it'd be easier for public comment as well, I would assume, because now they have a chance to look at fiscal implications. So
That's the prudent thing to do.
Okay,
we try. It's hard.
so then, on 7E,
You want to have a motion to table it until next
Well,
month?
that's what I was gonna ask. There is consensus, but
Oh,
we
I
can
see.
call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to table it to agendize it for next month's meeting.
Okay, Director Van Pelt has made a motion to table this item until our next regular meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to table approving the transfer of monies into FDIC insured CDs until our next regular meeting. That motion was made by Director Van Pelt and it was seconded by Director Beard. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
All right, we have a motion by Director Van Pelt and a second by Director Beard to table approval of resolution 2219, approving investments into a CD. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we're going to move on to 7F, which relates to filling the vacancy on the Finance Committee. Since we had a director resign, that position has been open. We are going to reassign our standing committees in December, as we usually do. And we don't have something pressing. However, the Finance Committee is an important one. And I would like to suggest to the board that we put Director Paddleford in that. It was my first standing committee, and it's a great way to get a broad sense of the organization here. And it also keeps things somewhat level where we don't get, two people doing everything. It's got a nice balance, and it's a good way to, just learn. So do I need a motion, or as chairperson, can I?
The preferred approach is to call for a motion, but there's nothing that prevents the chairperson from making the motion.
Well, just to be above the appearance of impropriety here, I call for a motion to fill the vacancy on the Finance Committee, our standing Finance Committee, with Director Paddleford. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Director Van Pelt has made the motion. Is there a second to assign Ms. Paddleford to the Finance Committee?
I'm on the Finance Committee, so,
I'll say.
That was a
Okay, so we have a motion from Director Van Pelt and a second from Director Redfern. Wendy, can you do a
All
roll
right,
call?
motion by Director Van Pelt and a second by Director Redfern to appoint Director Paddleford to the Finance Committee. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleford. Motion passes.
There was no public comment on this.
No, and I apologize for that. I technically have the authority as chairperson to make the appointment.
Sure.
And I was going to do that because it made sense, but then I thought, let's just go ahead and get it on record and do it overkill, just to make sure. But next time I would definitely ask for.
Can I ask who else is on the Finance Committee?
Director Beard.
Director Beard, okay. Now, are they responsible for reviewing the budget and that kind of thing?
yes.
Finance, okay. So in that budget process, do you have a minimum and a maximum on each position of the employees that work here at the district?
I don't follow you.
Well, when you have like a janitor, you have a range of money they can start at.
We don't
You
deal
don't do
with
that?
salaries. We
Yeah.
deal with the budget for the entire district. Not,
Including salaries?
well, there's the salaries, but we don't pick the salaries or give the
Oh,
range
I
of
know,
the
I
salary.
know. But when you're looking at the budget
Yes,
and there's a salary category there for the whole district, then you evaluate whether that's going to be increased or stay the same for the next year and that kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Now,
And you would also be responsible for the investment in the CDs and stuff, shouldn't you?
Yes, we make the recommendation.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just to clarify, the finance committee isn't responsible for establishing the pay scale,
Right.
right? That's a board.
No,
But
I'm
just the
talking
budget
about
for
the,
it.
But you
budget.
take the established pay scale and you incorporate that into the budget.
Thank you. I was a little concerned, but I didn't want to appear to be silencing you.
I just
But
wanted
you
to
get
know,
into areas
when
when
you're doing the budget, you know, and you say, well, our utilities is increased by 7%, this has happened by that. And so then you've got to adjust your budget for the next year. And so I was just curious as if the salaries are then also adjusted for the next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Not really.
Well, if there is a projected increase, yes, it would be adjusted.
Because
Not
they're-
by the committee, and we have,
No.
yes, we have a bargaining unit and that's.
No.
yeah.
What you're,
That's what I just wanted to
We're just saying-
clarify, yes.
so basically Wendy prepares the budget and then we look at it and we say, we think you should make these changes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I just
And-
wanted to know.
or-
Yeah,
You know, we think this needs to go up or we need to make these changes and we go through line item by line item through the budget.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if something is way out of whack, you question
We
it
question
or,
it, right.
okay, all right.
And then, but then it goes to the full board.
Then it goes to the full board, which it
Yeah.
did, and then we just approved.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
In the case of salaries, though, there's a very specific process for that,
Yeah.
but it is still approved by the full board.
Okay.
Okay. So, we have completed F, and welcome to the Finance Committee. Just one more point for my clarity, there would be no conflict in somebody making a motion who's on a committee to vote for somebody to be on.
No, I knew there wasn't a conflict. I just,
Oh, you just took a pass on it for, yeah, okay.
There's no conflict and there's
Yes.
also no conflict if you vote for yourself
right.
to be appointed to the committee.
Oh, how well I know.
We have-
I read the rule book. Oh, no, that's great.
So you guys are gonna
Awkward
go in closed session now, right?
First, we're going to ask for public comments on closed session.
Well,
Let me, just hang on a second, I'm just making sure, are there any public comments back? Okay, and then I don't see anyone on Zoom, so we'll recognize you.
okay, I just wanted to say before I left, to verify something for Mr. Director Van Pelt. The only reason this was directed at Karen Jones is because she is the acting president. The buck stops with her, but all of the directors on here carry the same responsibility because you vote and go along with everything. So everybody on this board is responsible for the actions.
I paused a little bit when you started and you confronted me about, this is to be directed at you
Well,
specifically.
that's what your instructions say.
Right, right. I was a little confused and went to my rules, but I just wanted to say that it's a procedural thing that people, before they speak, are recognized by the chairperson. But it's a public comment. You're commenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, I'm not the,
Right,
yeah.
because anytime any director on here votes and approves, whatever, they're just as responsible.
Yes.
You
We're all
vote to go
responsible.
along.
Yes, but we vote, but I take, as the majority of these board members do, they take accusations very seriously. So all I'm asking, right, for any constituents is to be very aware when they're accusing board members of certain conduct, especially if they have no proof that particular board members participated in any conduct. I would not do that to
Particularly
you,
illegal stuff.
right, as another, as a civil
Honey,
person.
everything that I told you was part of the record, of public record, except for the part of the attorney calling me from LA.
Well, I just would like
Everything
to,
else is part of
No,
the,
blackballing is not public record. There's no.
I said, are you listening?
Oh, I'm listening. Trust me, my ears.
Okay,
my
I
ears work.
said everything except from what the attorney called me about.
okay, let's go ahead and move on because there is too much interaction going here. But I would like to just clarify for the record that, and we'll get to the other public comment. I saw that you were recognizing somebody back there. That for the public record, I do not agree with your characterizations, and my not responding is not saying that you're right. And when you air quote me, I do not concede that that's a quote of mine. So I think that when we talk about proving things, that's what we're looking for, but it's your public comment and you can use it how you wish.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, and then there was a public comment back here. I think I saw, was it Craig?
I'll give it to you.
My name is Craig Kapner. I've been here at the CSD full-time since May 2022 years. I've given 100% over my 22 years of service during every 8-hour workday, as well as answering alarm calls at pump stations all hours of the night. The staff here has done an outstanding job and continues to do so. All one needs to do is look at the record for this district, see the quality of work that's been performed here. We can boast we've never been fined by the state for a large spill. We don't have one because we do what we need to do to make sure that the stuff stays in the pipes. I don't know how many other districts can boast that good of a track record. Tonight, you're making a decision to implement a pay reduction of $1,000 per pay period per employee, but for the same hours of work, same on call. It's not a budget issue. You got money, the money's there. So I have no idea why you would do such a thing. Would any of you guys accept a cut like that? $1,000 a paycheck with no reason? Do you not trust us? Do you not like us? I know Frank. You guys have never gotten time to get to know me. I'm a nice guy. You can ask anybody in the community. I know everybody around here. So with these kinds of actions, I can just remind you guys, just you can't stand us. You've got a strong disdain or dislike for us. Is the game plan get rid of everybody, hire an outside agency? You could do that. You get FRM in here, they come clean the lines once a year, camera it. They're not going to respond to the alarm calls at all the pump stations. They're not going to handle inquiries from the people in the community. I've built a relationship with these guys for years. We make good salaries here. We appreciate it. And we work really hard to ensure the health and safety of this community, as there are families, friends, and neighbors. We place their health and well-being above all else. We make sure the wastewater stays in the collection lines, not spilling into homes, yards, or out on the streets. So I implore you to think this decision through carefully. $1,000 means a lot. We've got families, we've got mortgages, gases, everything's skyrocketing. So please think very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Are there any other public comments before we move into closed session?
I have a comment. Your employees union has not done you justice. We have faithfully negotiated or tried to negotiate with your union. We have offered to step down your and make it so that it's a step down so that it would not financially impact you. Your union threw it out and would not do it. This is our last. If you continue the way they're negotiating, they've done you nothing. I've done negotiations before. They have done nothing for you. They are actually hurting you.
I heard the counter offer was donuts, coffee, and cocoa.
No. No. We are the only ones who have given anything. We offered to do a step down so that it would not financially impact you. They absolutely refused. If I was in your union, I'd fire them because they're hurting you. That's my statement.
And you know, Craig, that I've done your job.
Yeah,
And I
we tried
wouldn't
to be as
want
fair as
anything
possible.
bad happening to any of you guys.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's a lousy job. I mean, you're in it, you know. But the union has not moved an inch, not anywhere, nothing.
Not one thing. We are
We're
the
trying-
only ones who
We
have
came up
given
with
a
a plan
concession.
for you to make everything float so that you guys just went on as usual.
You would not notice it.
Oh, you're scared. Can I jump in?
Nobody's gonna jump in, and I would like everybody to respect each other and one at a time. But yes, I would recognize you to make a public comment.
What makes it a lousy job?
What
What do we do here that makes it a lousy job?
It's not a lousy job, but it's not a job that you're gonna sell to everybody to come.
Why not?
Because
Why
some
not?
people don't wanna work in Central.
Why not?
I don't know why not,
No,
because they
you
wanna
didn't.
be veterinary
You didn't. Why
doctors.
not?
I don't think.
I like the job. It's not a
Okay.
bad job for
Well, when
me,
you
or it's
say-
not a
when
bad
you
job for
say-
you.
I'm gonna call time out right now because I feel voices are raising and pointing fingers. I think it's
Well-
time we have negotiations going on, and I think that's probably the best way to
I don't
proceed
mean
rather
it's
than.
a terrible job. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I'm pointing at what you said lousy. I don't see it lousy. I take honor in my work. I go home proud as hell doing what I do. Okay?
Mhm.
Nothing I do here is lousy, bro. Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I
chill,
used the
man,
wrong
hold on,
word.
hold on.
I'm sorry. I
Hold on.
apologize.
Chill out. Let me speak now.
Well, I
I take
officially am
pride-
the chair. I'm gonna ask you that anyone in here who is participating in a conversation, one at a time, and this is public comment, so I invite
Okay.
you to make your comment, and we don't have
I'm
to.
doing, I take pride in my work, right? Nothing personal, but certain words do, trigger me, like certain words trigger you guys, right? Here in this job, they gave me an opportunity, okay? They gave me an opportunity. I was expelled from school. I was a bad kid. I hung around with drug dealers, killers, and all of that, okay? I lived there, all right? Even with the money I make here, I'm still in the hood where people get shot and you can hear it, the drug dealers and all of that. Even with the money I make, you understand? I can hear a person getting shot and I can hear them being paralyzed and see them on the streets. All right? Okay? I hear them. Even with the money I make, now you want to go around and say, hey, this is gone. Why? This is how I provide for my kids. I put my kids through this school so they don't have to go to public school for various reasons. And I'm sure if I told you those reasons, you would agree. Right? They're able to go into a nice Catholic school where I don't have to worry about certain things. Certain indoctrination, certain things, personal reasons. With this cut, I cannot. You want to sit down and run my bills with you? I'll do that. I cannot afford that. I cannot take that risk. It wasn't until this job right here gave me pride and guidance and a vision. This job, Jeff Hodge, gave me the motivation to go back to school and become certified in this and get a degree. Everyone counted me out. But it was because of you guys here that I turned this job into a career. Nothing I do here is lousy, bro. I went to school and I prepared for this. I put in those hours. When my son was born, I was here. Every Saturday, Sunday, when we were doing FRO programs, hash swappers and all of that, I was here. Nothing I do is lousy, bro, nothing. I love this community, it gave me a shot, but when you take something like that, it hurts. And I cuss here.
It would be probably,
Well, let me say, it fucking hurts. It hurts. It fucking hurts. This job here gave me an opportunity, probably your first minority hire, probably your first Hispanic. Don't do that, man. We come in here with pride. We come in here to give you our best any night. Just this Saturday, I was here 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then back again at 12 at night, got home at 1:30 and got my ass up and worked at 5 o'clock in the morning again. You think that's easy? You think that's lousy, bro? You know how it is to get hit with shit in the face. You know how it is to get blood and semen on your face and menstrual cycles. That's what you mean by lousy. It's a lousy condition. Yes, I agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
Shit, and you're afraid of getting hit with a freaking needle and coming home with some AIDS or some hepatitis. Damn, that's scary. But this is what put food on the table. This is what puts food on the table. I come home smelling like shit, but I put food on the table, man. I put food on the table. My parents are proud of me because I'm not like anybody else in the neighborhood. I could go and say, I work for the government. I work for the city with pride. Man, don't take this dream job and make it a nightmare, guys. We want to come here and kick some ass for you. And I'm just being real. I didn't write nothing. But I'm being honest with you guys. That's some bullshit. I just want to work. That's it. That's it. I'm coming to you from the heart. And if I don't have a job tomorrow, at least I made my peace. Because I feel like a dying dog just waiting to get shot in the head. Don't do that. Don't do that. I just want to work. That's it. Okay? That's it. Frank, I'm 100% with you, bro. I understand, but I take pride in my stuff.
No, you should. But you need to talk to your union because we are trying to find,
I'll talk to whoever. I don't shine, I don't back down.
we tried to get a step system and no bites on it.
It is what it is, right? You want to sit down, let's talk. Bring a 6-pack, I'll talk. Right? I'll bring a 12-pack, whatever you want. I'll talk any damn day. I'm not scared of anything or anyone.
No, me either.
All right, let's do it then. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'd like
Is
to
that
say
another?
something.
Can we finish with the public, or is it in response to something the last public speaker said?
In response to what he said, basically.
Okay, I would just caution everyone.
It's not a rebuttal.
No, it's not a rebuttal thing that I'm saying here. When we're in negotiations, and I think I said this earlier, when we heat up the rhetoric, I don't think it advances toward agreement. I like us all to know that, like, what's really happening. That's all I would caution board members and employees in getting a back and forth. There's representation on both sides, and we're moving forward. Okay, so go ahead.
I just wanted to say, haven't been involved in the negotiations because I'm new to the board, but I can tell you that I'm a proud union daughter. My dad was a pipe fitter and he was a shop steward. So I have nothing against unions whatsoever. Unions are what built this country. So I just want you guys to know that we are not against you. And we are fighting for you, not fighting against you. And I know that from the conversations that we've had here. So I just want you to know that.
But I appreciate that comment, and I would also like to say that I was air quoted as saying just sewer people. My husband spent Thanksgiving 2019 in the lift station in Solvang. He worked in your field. The guy I sleep with, I understand your job as much as somebody who doesn't do it, and I have a lot of respect for anyone who does any kind of work. It's tough. It's hard to get people. I appreciate that, but I would like to continue to work within the boundaries that we all agreed to and keep it real, keep it honest, separate out medical from salary. And we can acknowledge that it's been treated as a salary component, but that doesn't mean it is one. Yes.
And not taxed, which is illegal.
Well, it is taxed.
It
I
is
think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not that part. It's just that we want our employees to have the absolute best medical care for the reasons that you cited up there. It can be a dangerous job with exposure. So we would feel a lot better if people took full advantage of everything healthcare wise that they could here for themselves, for their families. And so I think this is where some of the negotiation breaks down, is in terminology, and people who benefit, who get a cut from both sides by us having animosity. When, as I said, my husband left the Thanksgiving dinner with his kids and grandkids to go do an emergency job like you described. And I completely hear what you're saying. But let's not let people who stand to benefit try and rile us up or mischaracterize, say I disrespect your job, and I feel like I'm always respectful and friendly when I see you. And so it's a mischaracterization. We don't know each other well because there's a process here. The general manager answers to the board. The staff is directed by the general manager. And we try and respect the process and the rules we agreed to, because we don't want lawsuits, and also because it makes it a lot more pleasant to work together if we're not pitted against each other. Sorry, that was more than I wanted to say, but.
For sure. And the thing that I said, and I get angry and I'm passionate, so don't confuse it with anger. That I'm a passionate guy. When you say, like he was saying, lousy, it's for that same reason that people aren't lining up to do these jobs. They're not. We come in while everybody runs away. We come into the emergency. We come in as first responders. While everybody was shut down during COVID, we were still kicking ass during COVID.
Do you accept what Director Redford explained?
Yeah,
That he was
I understand.
acknowledging
It's a
how tough you
lousy
have it. That he wasn't trying to put down the job.
Absolutely, I'm not going to dispute that. It's a lousy condition, but it's for that same reason that I prefer to these partners and these brothers in arms with me and me as Navy Team 6. Because while everybody going that way, when they see any hazard, any sanitation issues or anything to run away from it, we go right into it, right into the fire, right into it. People aren't lining up to do this, not at all. I didn't road saying, "No, I want to be a sewer worker." Not at all, not at all.
And it's tough to get good help in any deal. We all know they're paying $20 an hour and Panda Express. I mean, we get that. And that's why we're really trying to negotiate and do it in good faith and do it in an honest way where we don't misrepresent. Okay, any other public comments? Thank you for yours.
I'd like to say something.
I know.
I am represented by the union. I'm the only person in my class, and I'm the steward. And I'd like you guys to know that what you might impose is a financial hardship, it's an emotional hardship, and it's very demoralizing, and it sends the message that you don't care about staff and that staff is replaceable. I speak for myself and everybody else, and reconsider, keep the employees here, keep them whole, change it for the next employees that come in, but don't punish the employees who are currently working for a policy that was set in 2005.
Can I rebut that for a second?
Yeah.
We
I'd
offered
like to
that.
jump in. We're in
Thank you.
union negotiations, and I don't think that there should be, discussion and rebuttal with the employees. I think the discussion should be at the union level.
Because as soon as I admonished everyone else, I got into it. But it's this small office thing, but you're exactly correct. And so back to our public comment.
So, I mean, if there's, obviously there's a miscommunication or something, but, so maybe we need to go back to the table. But it doesn't make the employees feel like they're wanted, feel like they're liked, and feel like they should continue doing the awesome job that we do. And so I hope you guys really think about the staff that you have and how really great they are, and not impose a financial burden on the employees when there's a 9% inflation rate.
Thank you. Are there other public comments? Yes.
As a spouse of one of the employees, you said your husband, you didn't see him on Thanksgiving. 4.5 years went by where I didn't see him for one holiday, one birthday, one anything. These guys bust their ass every day and every night while you guys are home sleeping. They're up there, like you said, with shit on their face. And I'm begging you to reconsider this, because if you do this, he's not gonna be able to stay. And he's been here 22 years. He knows this place inside and out. His spill record is, I think, non-existent. He's a good employee. How much does it cost the camp, you guys, the district, when you spill per gallon? How much does that cost? And what are you gonna do when you have no current home employees? You have to call an outside agency, and by the time they get here, you spilled hundreds of thousands of gallons. Is that gonna be lucrative for the district at that point? I just want you guys to think beyond what's gonna happen, because all of these guys are gonna have to go somewhere else. And it's just, I want that, this is our home, this is our family. This district has been our family for 25 years. It's got more of my husband than I have. And I'm begging you to not do this. You're penalizing them. We should be able to choose where we want and how much medical coverage we want. That should be our choice. It has been for all these years. Why now is all of a sudden being taken from it when it's allotted in the budget? That's what's confusing. So I'm just curious, what happens when there's a spill and you don't have any in-home employees? You have to wait for an outside agency to come in, and they can't get here till Thursday. Just something to think about. So I appreciate all your time and effort you guys have put into your side of this. There shouldn't be sides. You guys should be working together, but these guys kill themselves for you. And I just want you to think about that before you take away their livelihood. And that's what you do. I know at least for my husband it is. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments before we go to
Anything
close
online?
session? Excuse me?
Anything online?
No.
I doubt it.
No. Okay, if there are no more public comments, then we will go into a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1. And it is to do with pending litigation. Is there anything that you need to add, Mr. Ballard?
No, the case is identified in the agendas, the Teamsters local versus San Diego Community Services District, dealing with the unfair practice charge that's been filed.
Okay, so with that, we will go into closed session at 7:47.
Wendy offered you guys a good solution.
We've already offered that.
Keep it for these employees.
We've already offered that,
You need to do it again.
and it was totally rejected by them.
Well, then I want to talk to the union people. Because these employees,
We've offered.
I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not,
We're not the enemy, Miss Ivy.
huh?
We're not the enemy. I'm not the enemy.
I know you're not.
We
But
want
what I'm
our-
saying is you negotiate with the union, so you ought to slap the union upside the head and make them listen.
Well, we don't negotiate using
Oh, that's quite
violence or
difficult.
name calling. It's like, it doesn't help. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
So I'm going to disconnect the
I did.
YouTube stream. Is what we do here, Wendy.
okay,
You
so
got
hang
some
on.
coconut water in your car there, Frank?
I have a sparkling ice.
No, okay, I'm gonna grab some water.
Well, there's a sparkling ice in there that you're very welcome to. Okay, I'm on the YouTube stream, so I just want to.
Okay,
get rid
so
of it. Remove.
Okay, so for closed session, on the host computer, you need to move the participants into the waiting room using the menu on each participant.
Okay, I see.
This also has features like ask to unmute.
Hang on, the participants there are 4 participants. So I'm going to move them into.
So go to more,
Where is it, Adobe's,
click right here.
on the district staff.
He's in the waiting room. So click more. Nope. I saw it. Scroll over here a little bit.
we want to mute the boardroom, but Jay has a process.
Well, yeah, that's what, so we have to, you have to put them all in the waiting room.
You can do it, I'll try to learn.
I don't,
Did he say to move everyone to the waiting
Yes,
room?
yeah,
But then we
because-
have,
except for,
Mr. Lee is already in the waiting room, so can we be in the waiting room with people who?
yes, because if you're in the waiting room, then they can't hear anything that's going on. So when you come back out of closed session for it to stream to YouTube, then you put the boardroom back in, back into the meeting.
And, so I don't see Nate in here.
No, Nate's not available.
Oh, that's right, we talked about that. So, the way Zoom works, I know that when I'm in the waiting room, I don't have any access to what's going on. So
Right.
from a legal standpoint, are you comfortable with us doing that?
It's from a technology standpoint, and I'm never comfortable.
Well, legally,
what's
do you
going-
err on the side of like, hey, it's handy to have a recording,
No, I think nothing should be recorded from the closed session. So
No,
we need to turn off
nothing's-
the microphone and we need to have everybody in the waiting room. We do need to have the ability to bring them back into the meeting because there's a open session report after the closed session.
that would be in the invite, because we're in the waiting room, and so we allow in, there's a choice on the
Yeah.
menu.
And
So
it looks to me
it's-
like the boardroom is still on Zoom. You
Right.
can see us here.
So you have to put the boardroom into the waiting room
Yes.
and then it stops recording. I'm calling Jay to verify that,
Okay.
but that's
Okay,
what, that's what he did last month.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what he told me to do, but
Okay.
of course it's not working. And he's not answering. Really? Dude, you said you would be here. So, on the host computer, you can move participants into the waiting room using the menu on each participant, which also has features like add my mute. Locke actually succeeded in doing this himself last time successfully. And he, I see Karen, just, okay, so that's not, okay, when you return, okay, so one extra bit of instruction from before is that when you go into closed session, you should, one, turn on the waiting room, which is already turned on. From the participants panel menu and, oh, there's Jay. Hi, sorry to bother you. Yeah. Okay, so, I can't get it to, oh, put in waiting room. Okay.